Okay, in this one we're going to kind of do like an in-depth overview of introverted intuition and extroverted intuition. Now, with introverted intuition, it's kind of like you're walking along, minding your own business, doing your own thing. And one day, you just happen to come across the perfect form of wood, and you go, that's interesting, and you put it in your pocket. And years or whenever, sometime later, you happen to come across the perfect nuts and bolts. They're rust resistant, you name it, they're just the perfection. And you say to yourself, that's interesting, that's kind of cool, and you put it in your pocket. And then same thing, you're going along doing whatever, and you happen to just find out that the perfect covering for any material, because of the UV protection or whatever, it's the perfect one. And so to yourself again, you're like, that's interesting, and you put it in your pocket. And the process repeats itself. Next thing you know, you're reading some magazine or something, or somebody tells you, the perfect height and dimensions for a ladder or whatnot. And you're like, oh, that's kind of cool to know, and you put it in your pocket. And then sometime later, you're walking down the road with your friend, and your friend says, I kind of want to make a ladder. And you're like, really? And your brain just goes droop, 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 and out of your mouth goes, well, if you want to make the perfect ladder, here's the wood you use, here's the nuts and bolts, here's the covering, and this is the dimensions you want. And your friend looks at you in total shock and dismay and saying, I didn't know you knew anything about ladders. And you are equally surprised, and you say, well, neither did I. But the perfect thing is there. And that is exactly how introverted intuition works. It's that nonverbal, storage unit of your brain that you're not even consciously aware of, because you're just putting stuff in your pocket that you find interesting, and you forget about it, you're not conscious of it, and then when you're asked or a situation arises from the stuff that you've stored, your past, because that's introverted, out comes the perfect formula. And it really stumps you and that other person, because they didn't even know that you knew it, and actually you didn't either, but your brain remembered it. So that's how that works. Now with extroverted intuition, it starts with a want, a desire, a curiosity that propels you forward. And we'll do the same ladder scenario and see how it works for someone with extroverted intuition. So they decide that they need a ladder. So they go to, the hardware store, and they're looking at the display of the ladders. And they're not really happy with what they're seeing. And they're saying, well, you know what, with the price that they're asking, I could just make my own for cheaper. So then that leads them over to the, home improvement store. And they're standing there in line waiting, to get their lumber, order through, and their nuts and their bolts. And as they're standing there in line, they go, I've been thinking about this, and if I'm going to make a ladder, I might as well make one with a whole bunch of different uses instead of just one thing and it's taking up all of the space. I could, make it into something else. And so they ponder on that thought, and then once they get all of their materials home and they're looking around the shop, the existing stuff that they already have, then they start thinking, well, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a ladder that can also, you can turn it or whatever, and it can be like a scaffolding, or you can fully extend it and it can be just an upright ladder, or you can bend it and it'll be like one of the more traditional. So I've got like a 3-in-1 set. And so they build it, they make it, and voila, you've got this new invention for this ladder that folds into basically everything. And that is extroverted intuition. See, it starts and it pulls you forward into something else through the process. And sometimes at the end of it, you know, you have something entirely different than what you initially wanted, or it is that thing that you did want, but it's extended, it's improved, it's different somehow. So that'll help you to know the difference between introverted intuition, which is when you're bringing the past stuff that you've retained forward into the current situation, and extroverted intuition is where you have a current need that propels you in the future into the stuff that you're doing into sometimes something even better than the original want and desire. So hope that helps. Until next time, goodbye.